For more, we're now joined by Sergio Olmos in Kyiv, in Ukraine. Thank you, Sergio. So the UN Secretary General, who has he met in Ukraine thus far, and what feedback following those meetings?
That's right. He started his day in Bordianka, and then he went to Bucha. These are suburbs of Kyiv, where I'm standing now in the capital, before he met with President Vladimir Zelensky. In those suburbs, he was there to witness the aftermath of Russian occupation. So he got to see what I have seen as I went in the first days after liberation, the mass graves. He got to see the buildings that were damaged. He could speak with civilians who were there to talk about what happened to them during the Russian occupation. I talked to civilians who talked about just wanton shootings, killings of civilians. I talked to a man whose younger brother was shot while smoking a cigarette, and I have seen civilians in the street just laid body after body as you walk through Bucha. It is a horrific sight, and that's what the UN Secretary General got to see today before speaking with President Volodymyr Zelensky.
And any feedback on the meeting with Zelensky? The Ukrainian president has been calling for more assistance from all quarters. Was the UN chief able to give him anything new?
That's right. So we haven't had details of the meeting yet. We expect that shortly, but as of now, here's what we know. Before this meeting, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was a bit disappointed, let's just say, with the UN Secretary General visiting Moscow first. His comments were that there are no dead bodies in the streets in Moscow. He wanted the UN Secretary General to come here first. I think Ukrainian officials have couched it in different ways. One senior advisor to the president said it was a bad idea, even for the Secretary General to come here. There was a lot of pessimism about what could come of this meeting. There's not a lot of hope that a peace deal will come from the Secretary General's visit. Ukrainian officials have been the most excited, the most kind of hopeful with meetings with world leaders who are promising weapons and aid. So far, they have said the UN has not provided the amount of aid or support that some of these European and American allies have provided. And so today, maybe what we hear in the next hours is maybe some details of that meeting. But coming into this meeting, there just wasn't a lot of optimism about what could come of it.
António, Guterres has from the start been calling for peace. I guess that would start with a ceasefire. So you're saying him being on the ground does not make that any closer in terms of a possibility in this war?
Well, that's certainly the hope of Ukrainian officials, right? I think it is a good start that UN Secretary General António Guterres visited Bordianka and Bucha, because these are places where the Russians were occupying, and they have there's alleged atrocities there, war crimes, according to the UN, to Ukrainian officials. And so this is a good place for him to see what Ukrainian officials have been stressing. I think one way this week that it's been talked about is there's different sides or different interpretations of this war. Moscow certainly has their interpretation, but Ukrainian officials have been very clear. They are being invaded. They are not invading Russia. They are being invaded, and that the war crimes are here to see for anyone who wants to come, as I have seen. And so today we will see what comes of that meeting. But Ukrainian officials have been very clear that if the UN wants to learn what's going on, they should have started here. And so after today's meeting, we will see if any kind of advancements have been made towards hopefully a peace deal.
All right, Sergio Olmos from Kyiv in Ukraine. Of course, we'll, as a channel, bring you any further news on that meeting between the UN Secretary General and Zelensky, the Ukrainian president.